Feminist activists have come up with a new movement and a new battle cry, Free the Nipple. Faith, what is this about?
Oh my goodness, anything but freedom. I'm so sick and tired of fake feminism. Jerry, somehow there is a group of women in North American society who, without having any hobbies, pastimes, really anything to focus on whatsoever, have manufactured a crisis which they have labeled, it's following from our media-dominated society, apparently, where somehow, because nipples are sexualized on TV and often censored, it has given way to a society where we see a lot of violence on TV. Jerry, it's nonsensical. I don't get their argument.
Faith and I were scarred for life at the March for Life rally when a couple protesters took to the stage and took their shirts off from Femin as if to say that they are pro-choice feminist and can take their shirts off and display it that way. As Faith said, slightly nonsensical, not slightly, just over the top nonsensical. And I don't understand really where this movement is about coming from.
So if you feel that there's inequality because men are too obsessed with breasts, showing your breasts somehow changes that equation.
I don't think it's bad that the male species, by and large, is attracted to female breasts. Can I say that without sounding like a total traditionalist? I don't know, anti-woman, war on women, you know, part of that whole conspiracy. I will admit that here in North America, the female breast is different than what it is, say, in Europe. I'll never forget when I was young.
You mean it's viewed differently?
It's viewed differently.
I think it's the same.
It is almost... That's true. Good touche. But I recall when I was younger, I was driving through the streets of Greece, and there was a huge billboard for some sort of shampoo, and the woman was topless, and she could be viewed from the waist up, and I thought, whoa, like there's a boob. And for me as a child growing up in North America, it was a sexualized image, sure, but I don't think that that's bad, and I think that there are so many other freedoms that we could be focused on, especially since really the epicenter of this is New York City, right? So things like, I don't know, freedom from unreasonable search and seizure, which the NSA has trampled, freedom of religion, which Obamacare has sought to trample. Like, these are freedoms that I think perhaps women would better put their talents and efforts towards, as opposed to exposing their nipples in public.
I was walking down the streets of Toronto, and I came across a news television station that I had never even heard of before, called Naked TV, and there were a bunch of lovely looking women standing there with their shirts off, and I said, why do you need to take your shirts off? And they said, well, the news is boring and we want to make it a little bit more interesting. But I said, well, what happens if a kid is walking along the street? She said, I'm not a nudist, but there's nothing wrong with the kid seeing some nipples. I said, well, I certainly wouldn't want my child looking at that sort of thing.
All right, but the naked news is hardly a feminist bulwark, I think.
But here's the thing. Frankly, women are so sexualized in so many billboards across this city. Frankly, I have no idea what it's going to be like to raise kids in this city, because there are all sorts of lewd poses that they're in all the time. I don't understand how now adding a nipple to the mix is in any way going to liberate women and give them any more sort of equal standing with men. I don't get it.
I love the conclusion to the column that brought us to this conversation. Sarah Hampton is the writer, and she admits that when she was once young and in university in Northampton, Massachusetts, she actually went out with a group of 20 other students as a lark, and in order to gain the giddy feeling that we were radical gals of the 70s, and basically ran across the street topless. And she says, but then we moved on from girlish things and got into the hard work of making real change.
But this is the thing. I think that there has been, through a display of the female body, a real trivialization of women's issues. Look no further than slut marches. Yeah.
The slut march a bad idea?
Well, yeah, which is to say, you know, women, we're powerful, hear me roar, I am equal to men, I am everything that is liberated and awesome, and here is me in a thong and without a shirt on. What? What?
Meanwhile, the feminist movement has also equated the feminist movement with the pro-choice movement, and now we're seeing girls their lives being terminated simply because it's a girl with gendercide, and it's happening in Canada.
Well, yes, but that brings up another confusing element of all of these things for me, and that is how a woman has the absolute right to an abortion. Oh, unless it's because she doesn't want a girl, then it's wrong. Like, that takes a certain amount of mind bending to agree with.
Okay, so the era that we're in right now is the post-sexual revolution era, where, as far as I'm concerned, the sacrament of the post-sexual revolution era is abortion. Okay. And you will even see sacred language used to dress it up. I've heard Nancy Pelosi say, what a blessing it is to have abortions and the right to abortion in America. That's kind of weird. So yes, there has been a conflation of women's rights as essentially abortion rights. And when you couple that with this fact, I mean, part and parcel of that, of course, is going to be that my sexuality is intertwined with my power. You can't have power over my sexuality, so here's a nipple. You can't have power over my uterus, so here's an abortion. Maybe now we figured out where they're coming from. At least I feel like some sort of catharsis, an epiphany happening here. Okay. I get you, Free the Nipple campaign. I now understand. I'm still not with you.
Not with you.
No? Well, then me neither.
No naked news over here. I don't know. Do you have daughters?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so then what do you think? Would you be okay with do you think Free the Nipple is going to free her or liberate her?
It is legal here in Ontario to take your shirt off.
Yes, I understand that, and the passing of that law did nobody any good because it's quite obvious if you spend time on the streets of Toronto that women weren't asking for that opportunity. Because they're not, except for these radical, goofy feminists who apparently don't have serious things to worry about. So thanks to both of you.